Welcome back, this is StudMuffin1986, and today I'm going to be doing a guide on how to play with the German Tier 10 JgPz E100 tank destroyer. Currently has one of the more powerful cannons in the game, and also scares quite a bit of players when they see this thing pointed right at them. However, just because you do have a pretty powerful cannon and a pretty awesome tank, this thing does have some vulnerabilities that some players oversee and can end up getting themselves in some pretty bad situations. But if played correctly, this thing could really be a monster on the battlefield. So let's go in and now just find out how to play with this monster. So when first looking at it, you'll notice in the upper left hand corner from the upside down triangle that this is a tank destroyer, meaning how you play with this thing is being able to put yourself in positions to get a great view range so that when your medium and light tanks are moving forward to spot the enemies for you, that you can just rain down fire upon the enemy, or if you don't have any good positions to do that from, then moving with your team to be a supporting cannon. So now let's go in and take a look at this thing's armor. Okay, so when first looking at the JgPz under the armor inspector, we can see that it actually has a fairly good amount of armor and protection, especially when you're angled as such against the enemy, trying to deflect and block those shots. You do have pretty good armor. However, even when angled, you can see that your lower plate is still fairly weak against another tier 10 cannon to get shot. And you also have this tiny gunner's turret, which most people don't necessarily aim for, giving its level of difficulty in hitting it just because it's so small and being that it's also very circular. So when coming against enemies, you want to be angled as such when they have their cannons pointed at you, shifting back and forth, trying to not let them get any clear shot on you. And if they are pointed down toward your lower plate, then trying to use your track and angle yourself as such so they can't quite get as good of a clear shot on you. Once again, just like how most tanks work with armor, you notice if you don't have yourself quite as angled nicely, that you are just going to be a giant punching bag. This is a pretty big tank. And so keeping yourself angled as such is going to be very, very helpful with this. Looking at it from head on, you can even see, unlike the mouse, this thing does have armor that is completely sloped. And you can see just from right here just how sloped that upper plate is where the cannon sits, which is really nice. And the side of the cheeks of the cannon plate are a little bit smaller than the E100 and the mouse, given that this cannon plate is actually a bit bigger. So you're going to want to protect this lower plate as much as possible, and to be able to do that, it's going to be a matter of positioning yourselves behind obstacles that your cannon can peek up over, but your lower plate is most likely protected either behind like a hill, a rock, anything like that. And you can also see if you do have a tank coming at you and you've got a hill behind you, one thing that's also really nice is if you do back up against that hill, you can see that your lower plate becomes a lot harder to hit. However, it does make this upper plate a bit flatter, and so if you keep moving up and down that hill, moving back and forth, and you can see it can end up making it a bit difficult to hit your weak spots. Now, one of the things about the JgPz that's important to keep in mind is when you end up closing the distance between you and faster or more maneuverable tanks, you expose your vulnerability to end up getting flanked and making yourself completely useless. And so trying to keep your enemies in front of you as much as possible and keeping a safe distance from them, raining down fire upon the enemy, is going to be one of the most effective ways on how to play with this tank. Going in and then looking at the gun depression of the tank, we can see that it looks like it has a gun depression of -6, which is not too bad. And then going into the specs of the tank, we see that his hit point pull of 2,000, which is pretty good, 200 millimeters of frontal hull armor, 120 on the sides, and 150 on the rear. And then speed limit 30 kilometers an hour, traverse 20, engine power 1200. Not bad. And then your cannon up to 1,000 alpha damage, which is really good. And then some of the best penetration in the game with a standard AP of 374 millimeters. And then when using heat, gets up to 500 plus, which is just insane, having some of the best penetration in the game. Rate of fire is a little slow, so that's where keeping your distance is going to really help out. And then your aim time and accuracy is also not bad. Going in and looking at the consumables, use the multi-restoration pack, repair kit for when you get your track shot to quickly repair so you can turn. And then provisions I don't use just because of how expensive they are if you are credit conservative. And then pack 2, high explosives, 5 heat, 17 standard AP shells. And then for your equipment, using the gun rammer to increase speed of fire, vents to increase crew skills, and then camouflage. Being a tank destroyer, you are going to be relying on being undetected. So now let's finally get into some gameplay. Alright, so looks like I'm on the Desert Sands map. Kind of looking around, seeing where my teammates are. They're moving forward, we're taking the right side. So just gonna move up. Just sitting too far back in that one place, I just don't have a good enough view range. So still gonna be a supporting cannon, not necessarily taking the front row. But I'm gonna try side scraping just a tiny bit here, only exposing myself to one tank. And wow, can't believe I missed that shot. I think that shell just barely went over his head, but you can tell just I'm using my very wide tracks and just the side of my armor to try to protect myself as much as possible. Got a beautiful shot there, definitely needed my heat, but you can tell just from this tank I'm able to side scrape and bounce a decent amount of rounds. So just going to be very cautious. Right now I'm using my external view to just pay attention to where all the other enemies are at. Still bouncing a lot around, just going to slightly back myself up. Using it, wow, I can't believe that did not even kill him. I was using a high explosive there just because he was so low on life, and high explosive shells are fairly cheap. And so I thought that would have been able to kill him. So now I'm going to go ahead and be a little bit more aggressive and move up, still being a supporting cannon. Get this shot off the E1, and of course the teammate gets right in front of me. So I'm just going to continue to keep moving forward, try to close in, take out these enemies, move with my team. I don't want to be too far behind because if I did get too far behind, my team goes and they're not near me, they're not going to be able to help me. Luckily he just hit my track. Alright, gotta get rid of this guy real quick, so I didn't have time to switch out of my heat, unfortunately. So, we're doing pretty good, 4-2. Looks like we got the IS-7 coming up right behind us. I've got all my health, so does he, but I'm just gonna go in, and since he can't circle of death me, there's too many buildings and other dead tanks around. Pop a shot right into him, damage his engine. I should easily be able to take care of him. Now I'm going to go up and just hug him, just so that he can't get any shots on my underplate, and try to use my external view to help him hit my cannon plate. I cannot believe I just hit his cannon on that shot. Oh my gosh. You know, just some games you just end up having the worst luck, and honestly this is oh my gosh. Okay, that, I can't believe how many rounds I bounced. I can't even believe that last shot didn't even penetrate him. So anyway, I don't know what necessarily was happening with World of Tanks there. With the cannon, I should have easily had over at least 3,000 damage there. But gonna go into another one here. Looks like we've got, looks like we're facing Grim in this one. Going to go ahead and go left. Once again, moving with my team. I'm not just going completely solo. Trying to stay on the outskirts of the map, utilizing my teammates that are a little bit forward than me to detect them and help me get some eyes on some targets I can hit. Don't have a visual. I'm going to go ahead and move up. I don't see anyone of threat. Going to use a high explosive on this leopard since his armor is just incredibly weak. I thought maybe I would have been able to get an instant kill just with that shot, but unfortunately no. Backing up immediately, I did see that E3. I'm going to try to angle myself, using the buildings as protection, not completely relying on my armor, as you just simply cannot do that. I do see this grill just kind of out in the distance, trying to be very, very situationally aware of my surroundings. This is one of the hardest things I have about tank destroyers, is because being that you're so restricted on maneuverability and your cannon can only face in one direction, you don't have... Oh, okay. That... I thought, alright, I just basically exchanged 800 damage for probably only doing about 300 to 400 to him with a high explosive shell. Which is never good. Oh, crap. Clearly not doing the best. This is actually my first time ever playing the JgPz E100 on this map. So maybe not the best example here, but going to take just a little bit more of a backseat approach here to try to help protect myself. However, I still want to be able to put myself in a situation where I can somewhat see the enemies and get shots off of them. Hoping this guy comes just around the corner for me to get a shot on him. Being it's going to be a side shot, I should be able to pen just even with a standard shell. I think I used up all my high explosives. Come on. And oh my gosh. Well, today clearly I'm obviously not having the best of luck with shooting. It just happens. So 3-2, we're still ahead. Crap, angle might... Yep, and there's a perfect example on why you cannot 100% rely on your armor. I guarantee that guy, even when angled as such, was most likely using an APCR shot. Gonna try... Okay, perfect. Don't have any more high explosives, unfortunately. I would have totally used it on that grill if I would have had more. Gonna just... Hopefully he doesn't move so I can get this other shot in. Let's see what happens. Perfect. Okay, well, got rid of him. Got him back for catching me on fire. And... Alright, so... We're heading the game. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive. However, I got to be very cautious because I am very low on life. Actually, to the point where somebody could use a high explosive against me. And, I mean... They could basically... Oh my gosh. Sorry guys, I am just having the worst luck with my shots today. Alright, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go ahead. I know this is... Oh, come on, come on. Oh, beautiful. That's all I wanted, just to get that one shot off. It was actually a beautiful shot, being I did not hit his cannon plate. Got a beautiful penetrating shot, so that was really nice. I can see Grim also did not do very well, but you can't win them all. This is StudMuffin 1986. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this was able to help.